almost everything in life, both in a professional setting and a personal setting, takes a team, takes a group effort to make it happen. Academic settings, you working in groups sometimes can be frustrating, and I hope these tips will help maybe alleviate some of those concerns. I know myself as a student was not as deliberate as I should have been and made some mistakes and wasn't as efficient as I could have been on the team, but it is a very important learning experience, and I hope with these tips you can be more efficient than I was and really be deliberate about how you approach your group project or team project. Well, the first step is choosing who's going to be in your group. And a lot of times what we do is we choose who our friends are, right? And that's very tempting, but it's something you should consider is who has the right skills, who has the motivation to complete the assignment well, whose schedules align with yours. So there may be many more important things than choosing just your friends to be in the group with. I know that's very tempting and that's what you want to do, but just think about that before you get fully into the team. If you had a poor experience with someone in the past, think about having that crucial conversation and telling them that you enjoy their friendship and that you want to choose a different team for this project, though. Following up on that, you've got your teammate now, your group. How do you communicate with them? So there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of options for communicating: emails, phone calls, group texts, Google Docs, lots of possibilities out there. You need to find what will work for you. I do really like Google Docs or something similar to that where all the members can collaborate simultaneously. You may even find that it eliminates some of the need for group meetings. You can tag people to specific sections or ask them specific questions and get those resolved. But no matter what you choose, make sure you have contact information from everyone so that you can reach each other. If there's any issues, there's multiple options for getting in touch with your team and asking questions, especially if there's any last minute edits or adjustments that need to be made. You want to make sure that you can reach everyone on your team. So communication, again, a huge part of teamwork and group projects. Next, you want to think about your check-ins and deadlines. So every group member should have some tasks they're responsible for. And it may be more in a leadership fashion that somebody's responsible for coordinating what other work is happening and bringing it together. But regardless, everyone should know what they're doing, what their roles are, and check-ins and internal deadlines are going to help you pace through the project. So if you have those periodic check-ins, you're going to be able to make sure every group member is contributing or understand if they're not contributing. And I see this very often where I'll have a group come to me and say, so-and-so is showing up to meetings, but they're not contributing, they're not doing any tasks. And at least for my class, I allow a group to kick someone out of their group. It has to be unanimous, and it's got to be more at least 1 week before the overall due date, so it's not a last-minute removal of someone from your group, but I do allow that. Maybe not every class does that. But these check-ins are going to be helpful. Again, we're going to be keeping track of what's going on, if everything's getting done. The group's going to come together, share their findings, discuss problems. Maybe there's some new ideas, some brainstorming that needs to happen to resolve certain issues. And this is going to be very helpful. Those deadlines are meant to establish priorities for what needs to get done first and help eliminate some of that panic I know that we all get into if you leave work for that last minute. Particularly for many complex projects, one task, one item builds on the next. So you need the first person to do their work before the next person does theirs, or just the first task to be completed. Maybe the whole group is working on it, but the first thing needs to be completed before the last one. So what can often happen is you put all this pressure on this person that has the last task, because if everyone's missing their deadlines, that last person is going to have a compressed schedule with which to complete that, and usually it ends in a suboptimal project. I do recommend that you get that in writing. It's easy for people to say, I didn't know I was supposed to do that. So that first meeting, list all these things out. Here's who's doing what, list out the tasks. It can be there's a leader on these tasks and then who else is contributing to those. It doesn't have to be all one person's responsibility, but somebody should be coordinating each of those, and every task should be assigned to someone. You also really want to give yourself a cushion at the end of the project. Murphy's Law again. People get sick, documents get deleted, some group members may be irresponsible, and you may not find that out until later on. So for these unexpected and unaccounted for issues, and they're really not unexpected, we know you're going to encounter these. You just don't know exactly which issues will come up, but you will have issues. So set an earlier date than the actual due date. And then, maybe it's 3 days, 4 days, maybe it's a week, and say, we're going to meet here, we're going to have the final deliverable, and we're all going to review it together and make sure that go back through that rubric, go through the things that are supposed to be included, make sure everything is there, and then you submit it. And if there are any final tweaks, you've given yourself some time to do that. So you're going to help yourself on any potential catastrophes or dilemmas. You can solve those before 11:30 at night, the day before the deadline. So that's really helpful. Monitoring that team progress overall. Again, all team members are going to have some so-called slackers, may not be able to complete their tasks or may not complete them well. If you're the team leader, one of your key roles is going to be making sure that everybody on the team is completing their assigned tasks. So you're going to need to do those check-ins, and even if you're not the leader, you can take that leadership role. Your grade is also at stake. Maybe you're nudging your team leader if somebody else has identified themselves as that team leader, and make sure everyone is aware of each group member's progress. That is a huge thing I hear, is that so-and-so said they'd do something, it's the day before it's due, and they haven't heard any progress or haven't checked in, and they're saying, well, this person didn't complete it like they were supposed to. These intermediate steps, intermediate check-ins will help alleviate a lot of these concerns. Building on that, take the lead. So if no one else is stepping up to say, I'm gonna help set meetings, and I'm gonna take notes, and I'm gonna organize things, don't be afraid of stepping up and being that team leader, team coordinator. You don't have to call yourself the leader of the group. You can say, hey, I'm gonna help coordinate. I'm gonna make sure everybody knows what they're supposed to do, when they're supposed to do it, how to get in touch with each other, how we're going to communicate. If you get stuck with that group full of slackers, this is the perfect opportunity to expand those leadership skills. This is a great non-technical skill that's very important to develop. Can you be a leader? Can you step up and really get things moving and take control? It doesn't mean that you should do all the work. It doesn't mean that you're the boss, but just filling in that leader role, making sure everything gets done on time, facilitating that communication, helping keep people on track. Keep an open mind, though, and listen to everyone's opinion. It doesn't mean that you should come in and be the dictator and tell everyone what to do, but you're just that internal facilitator or coordinator, making everything is on a path for success. And a good leader finds those areas to compromise on. Everybody's going to have different ideas. Can you bring a consensus to the group that everyone can agree on and work towards that common goal? I do recommend being explicit with this if you can. So take time in that first meeting or an early meeting and identify and choose that team leader, or maybe it's multiple leaders over different tasks. Regardless of the size or who's on the team, every team needs a leader to make sure those things get done and have that kind of ultimate responsibility and make sure things are moving forward. So don't be afraid to take that. It's a great learning opportunity in a classroom setting to take a leadership role. Also, don't be afraid to ask your professor or TA or others for help. It doesn't show weakness. It shows that you've thought about the outcome of the project, you're willing to try alternative solutions, and you're stuck somewhere possibly, or you have multiple alternatives and need help figuring out what will work. If something is failing, if something isn't working well, if you've ran out of ideas, if someone isn't pulling their weight, whatever it may be, ask your professor or your TA for help. Especially your professor probably has encountered some of these issues every single semester, and hopefully we'll have some good ways to resolve some of the issues that you're encountering, whether it's technical or a non-technical aspect of it. So use those resources that you have. I do highly recommend exhaust all of your other resources, though. So before you go to your professor or TA, make sure it's not written in the project assignment, it's not in the syllabus, and it's not in some other readily available location. But then go to that professor or TA and say, here's what I've tried, this is what we've looked at, these are the issues we've tried these things. Can you help us, give us any guidance on how to move forward? And then stay positive. This is extremely important. Everyone's probably been part of a team where somebody is just dragging down the morale of the group and bringing a lot of negativity. Group projects are going to be at times stressful. I hope they're not always stressful all the time, but they're going to be time consuming, occasionally stressful. But they are going to be beneficial and helpful for building a lot of these skill sets that we need in the real world, providing realistic expectations about future internships and careers, group work, teamwork is extremely important. It is part of life, whether we like it or not. By focusing on those positives instead of the negatives, you're going to give yourself the chance to learn and get the most out of each project. And it just is very helpful for a team and a group to have somebody that's saying, we can do this, we can make it work. Here's the steps we're going to take. We're going to break it down into small chunks, and we're going to make this happen. And building on that, don't retreat if your ideas aren't chosen. So I do encounter this regularly where the team is figuring out what the solutions are that they want to present or move forward with. Somebody has an outside the box idea, it doesn't get selected, and that team member can never fully engage with the group again. They've kind of said, you didn't pick mine, you don't like me, I'm not wanted, I'm done. Unfortunately, this is going to happen. Your idea isn't always going to be the one selected. You've got to move forward with it. You almost need to have that in those brainstorming sessions. You need to have the memory of a goldfish where you just immediately forget it. If you're not selected, you move on. Everybody's got a consensus idea, and you're moving towards that final goal. So think about compromise. Life is about compromise. So you're going to go into these situations knowing that there's going to be some brainstorming and that your idea may not be the one that gets selected. It is going to be a group decision, so you're going to need to be flexible and open to compromise. And once that decision's been made, you need to accept that idea and move forward with the decision that the team makes and fully support those efforts. So even if you don't think that's what you should be doing personally, have some positivity, move forward, contribute, and do your best. I hope these tips have been useful. If you've got any other suggestions on things that we should think about or things that work well for you, or any horror stories about teamwork gone wrong, please let me know in the comments.